Anantam Shukrana Guruji for blessing us with this beautiful seva of reading as well as listening to the Shivpuran. Last week we read chapter 34 and 35 of Rudra Samhita section 5. In this we read that Lord Shiva instructed his attendants and his sons Kartikeya, Ganesha and Veerabhadra, Bhadrakali, Ganas, Bhairavas to be fully equipped for a war with Shankachura. Likewise, Shankachura also instructed his general to be fully equipped for a war with Lord Shiva, as well as he made his son the Lord of Danavas. He got himself on the aerial chariot and set out for a battle. He reached the holy city of Bharata, and on the banks of river Pushpabhadra, he saw the hermitage of Kapila, and under the very auspicious banyan tree, he saw the moon-crested Lord sitting in a yogic pose. Then he selected a great leader from his Danavas who had great knowledge to go as an emissary to Lord Shiva. So his emissary went there and he saw the god sitting, meditating, and along with that he also saw Kartikeya and Bhadrakali. Now he bowed down in front of the Lord, joined his palms in reverence, and very humbly asked the Lord what he really wanted. So Lord Shiva laughed and told him to tell Shankachura about his previous lifetime as Sudama, and that he should not hold any malicious feelings towards gods because he was never a Danav, and he had only become one because of the curse of Radha. Then he also told the emissary to tell Shankachura to leave the kingdom of gods and go stay in his kingdom. And listening to all this, because this emissary was deluded by Shankachura, he asked Lord Shiva about the various acts he thought that the gods had not done right to the demons. He asked why Lord Vishnu had severed the heads of Madhu Ketamba, why Lord Shiva himself destroyed the Tripuras and fought with it, why Hiranyakashyap and his brother were tortured and harassed by the gods, why did the gods drink the holy nectar that came out of the ocean, and why were the demons deluded, and why were they not given the nectar, and why demons like Shumba and other were subjected to fall by the acts of God. Listening to all this, Lord Shiva told this emissary that all these acts were the result of request of gods. Then the emissary also told Lord Shiva that there was a perpetual enmity between demons and gods, and Lord Shiva should not interfere as it will be futile, and whoever will be victorious will be decided by Kala. Now, listening to all this, Lord Shiva said that he is always subservient to his devotees, and even today he had come at the request of gods because gods had sought refuge in him and he was there to complete the task of gods. Listening to all this, the emissary stood up and returned to Shankachura. We will read further what happened. Today we will read chapter 36, which is mutual fight, and chapter 37, Shankachura fights with his entire contingent of army. We only have English reading today. English reading will be done by Urvashi Aunty. Jai Guruji, enjoy the readings. Shukrana Guruji.
Jai Guruji, Anantam Shukrana for this seva. Chapter 36, Mutual Fight. Sanat Kumara said, the emissary returned and mentioned the words of Shiva in detail and truthfully. He conveyed his decision as it was. On hearing that, the valorous Danava, Shankachura, accepted lovingly the alternative of a fight. Hurriedly, he got into his vehicle along with his ministers. He commanded his army against Shiva. Shiva too hastened to urge his army and the gods. The Lord of all was ready himself with his sport. The musical instruments formally announced the beginning of war. There was a great tumult along with the shouts of the heroes. O sage, the mutual fight between the gods and the Danavas ensued. Both the host of the gods and the Danavas fought righteously. Mahendra fought with Vrishaparvan, Bhaskara fought with Viprachiti, Vishnu fought a great battle with Damba, Kala with the Asura Kala and the fire god fought with Gokarna. Kubera fought with Kalakeya and Vishwakarman with Maya. Mrityu fought with Bhayamkara and Yama with Samhara. Varuna fought with Kalambika, the wind god with Chanchala. Mercury with Ghataprastha and Shanishchara with Raktaksha. Jayanta fought with Ratnasara, the Vasus with the groups of Varshas, the Aswins with the two Diptimants, and Nalakubara with Dumbara. Dharma fought with Durandhara, Mangala with Ganakaksha, Vaishwana with Shobhakara, and Manamatha with Pipita. The 12 sun gods fought with the Asuras, Gokamukha, Churna, Khadga, Dumra, Samhala, the valorous Vishwa, and Palasha. The other gods assisting Shiva fought righteously with the other Asuras. The 11 Maharudras fought with the 11 terrible Asuras of great power and valor. Mahamani fought with Ugrachanda and others. The god Moon fought with Rahu, and Jiva fought with Shukra. Nandishwara and the rest fought with leading Danavas in the great battle. This is not being explained separately. O sage, then Shiva stayed at the foot of the banyan tree, along with Kali and his son. The hosts of the two armies fought continuously against each other. Decorated with gem-set ornaments, Shankachura sat on his gem-set throne of great beauty, attended upon by a crore Danavas. Then ensued a great war, in which both gods and asuras were crushed. In that great war, many divine and miraculous weapons were hurled. Maces, long and short swords, patisas, bhushundis, mudgaras, different kinds of iron clubs, javelins, spears, parigas, shaktis, axes, arrows, tomaras, shatadhanis, and other weapons shone in the hands of the heroes. Using these weapons, the heroes severed the heads of each other. It was a jubilant occasion for the roaring heroes of the armies. Elephants, horses, chariots, and foot soldiers, along with their drivers and riders, were hit and split up. The arms, thighs, hands, hips, ears, and feet were cut off. The banners, arrows, swords, coats of mail, and excellent ornaments were slit and split. The earth shone with heads divested of coronets, but with earrings retained, strewn about, and with thighs resembling trunks of elephants, broken off during the tussle. Severed arms with the ornaments and weapons still retained, and other limbs too were lying scattered about like honeycombs. The soldiers running in the battlefield saw several headless bodies that jumped with many weapons lifted in their hands. With different kinds of miraculous and ordinary weapons and missiles, the heroes of great strength and valor fought one another, shouting and leaping. Some heroes killed the soldiers with their arrows, fitted with golden tips, and rode like water-laden rumbling clouds. One hero fully encompassed another hero, as well as his chariot and charioteer, by discharging heaps of arrows, like the rainy season covering up the sun under the clouds. Fighters of duel rushed against one another, challenging, thrusting, and diving in at the vulnerable points. Everywhere groups of heroes were seen in that terrible war, roaring like lions, with various weapons displayed in their hands. The heroes in their joy shouted and leapt, blowing on their conches of loud sound severally. Thus for a long time the great combat between the gods and Danavas continued, terrible and tumultuous but delightful to the heroes. Such was the divine sport of the great Lord Shiva, the great soul. Everyone, including the gods, asuras, and human beings, was deluded by it. Chapter 37. Shankachura fights with the full contingent of his army. Sanat Kumara said, Then the gods were defeated by the Danavas. Their bodies were wounded by weapons and missiles. Terrified, they took to flight. Returning to Shiva, the Lord of the universe, they sought refuge in him. In agitated words, they cried, O Lord of all, save, oh, save us. On seeing the defeat of the gods and others, and on hearing their cries of fear, Shiva was greatly infuriated. He glanced at the gods sympathetically and assured them of his protection. With his brilliance, he enhanced the strength of his ganas. Commanded by Shiva, the great hero Kartikeya, son of Shiva, fought fearlessly with the hosts of Danavas in the battle. Shouting angrily and roaring like a hero, the Lord, the slayer of Tarka, killed 100 Akshohinis in the battle. Clipping off their heads, Kali, with the eyes like a red lotus, drank off the blood and devoured the flesh rapidly. She fought in diverse ways, terrifying both the gods and the Danavas. She drank the blood of the Danavas all round. Seizing 10 million elephants and an equal number of men with a single hand, she playfully thrust them into her mouth. Many thousands of headless bodies danced in the battlefield. There was a great tumult that terrified the cowards. Again, Kartikeya became furiously angry and showered volleys of arrows. He struck crores of leaders of the Asuras within a trice. The Danavas, wounded in their bodies by the numerous arrows of Kartikeya, fled in fright. Those who remained were killed. Rishaparvan, Viprachiti, Danda, and Vikampana fought with Kartikeya by turns. Mahamari also fought. She was never routed. All of them afflicted by Kartikeya's spear were wounded. O sage, Mahamari and Skanda won the battle. Big war drums were sounded in the heaven. Showers of flowers fell down. On hearing the wonderfully terrible fight of Kartikeya that caused wastage in the rank and file of the Danavas like natural disasters, as well as the harassment and havoc wrought by Mahamari, Shankachura became furious and himself got ready for the battle. He got into his excellent aerial chariot that contained different weapons and missiles that was set in diamond and that encouraged and emboldened the heroes. Shankachura drew the string of the bow up to his ear and discharged volleys of arrows from his seat in the middle of the chariot. He was accompanied by many heroes. His volley of arrows was terrifying. It could not be withstood. A terrible darkness spread in the battlefield. The gods, Nandishvara, and others fled. Only Kartikeya stayed behind in the battlefield. The king of Danavas showered mountains, serpents, pythons, and trees so terrifyingly that it could not be withstood. Oppressed by that shower, Kartikeya, the son of Shiva, looked like the sun, enveloped by thick sheets of frost. He exhibited many types of illusions in the manner indicated by Maya. O excellent sage, none of the gods or Ganas understood it. At the same time, the powerful Shankachura of great illusion split his bow with a divine arrow. He split his divine chariot and the horses pulling it. With a divine missile, he shattered the peacock too. The Danava hurled his spear as refulgent as the sun, fatally on his chest, whereat he fell unconscious by the force of the blow. Regaining consciousness, Kartikeya, the destroyer of heroic enemies, mounted his vehicle of sturdy build set with gems. Remembering the feat of Lord Shiva accompanied by Parvati and taking up weapons and missiles, the six-faced deity fought terrifically. With his divine missiles, the son of Shiva split the serpents, mountains, trees, and rocks, everything furiously. He prevented a conflagration by the missile of cloud. He split the chariot and the bow of Shankachura playfully. He split his armor, coronet, and the vehicles. He roared like a hero and shouted again and again. He hurled his spear refulgent like the sun at the chest of the lord of Danavas. At the blow, he fell unconscious. That powerful Asura got rid of the affliction in a Muhurata and regained consciousness. With a leonine vigor, he got up and rode. He bit Kartikeya of great strength with his spear. Not making that spear a gift of Brahma futile, Kartikeya fell on the ground. Taking him on her lap, Kali brought him near Shiva. By his divine sport and perfect wisdom, Shiva enlivened him. Shiva gave him infinite strength. As a result of that, the valorous Kartikeya stood up and felt inclined to go to the battlefield. In the meantime, the heroic Veerbhadra of great strength fought with the powerful Shankachura in the battle. Whatever arrows were discharged by the Danava in the battle were split playfully by Veerbhadra by means of his own arrows. The Lord of Danavas discharged hundreds of divine missiles. The valorous Veerbhadra split all of them by means of his arrows. The valorous Shankachura became infuriated and hit him on the grounds. Regaining consciousness in a trice, the leader of the Ganas, Veerbhadra, caught hold of his bow again. In the meantime, Kali went to the battleground again at the request of Kartikeya to devour the Danavas and to protect her own people. Nandishvara and other heroes, the gods, Gandharvas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, and serpents followed her. Drum bearers and wine carriers accompanied them in hundreds. Heroic warriors on either side were active again. This concludes chapter 37 and today's reading. Thank you. Jai Guruji.